إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء طمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره نكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. برباد ہوا باغ نبی دور خزاں سے افسوس سفر سید بے کس کا جہاں سے ایک پل میں اس گھر کا کلا چھید کے نکلا ایک پل میں اس گھر کا گلا چھید کے نکلا وہ تیر جو نکلا کسی ظالم کی کماں سے برباد ہوا باغ نبی دور خزاں سے بچہ کفن و گور کا محتاج پرا ہے بچہ کفن کفن و گور کا محتاج پڑا ہے، چادر بھی نہیں سر پہ کفن دوں میں کہاں سے، برباد ہوا باغ نبی دور خزاں سے، کس دل سے نکالی شہ دلگیر نے برچی، کس دل سے نکالی شہ دلگیر نے برچی، لپٹا تھا کلیجہ علی اکبر کا سینہ سے، برباد ہوا باغ نبی دور خزاں سے، کربل کی زمین نام کیا تو نے جہاں میں، کربل کی زمین نام کیا تو نے جہاں میں، سجدے کو لیے جھکتے ہیں سب شوکت و شان سے، برباد ہوا باغ نبی دور خزاں سے، افسوس سفر سید بے کس کا جہاں سے، بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔
Brothers and sisters, we'll now have a short talk by Zaynab Versi and Miqdaad Versi. Please welcome them with salawat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad.
So, Assalamu alaikum everyone, Jambo, Karibu. Thank you all for coming and attending this chalismo for our grand Fatma Jafar Ali Versi to celebrate her life. It's really humbling to see you all here today, and your attendance is really appreciated. Through these last few weeks, we've seen and heard the outpouring of love and support, du'as, condolences that we've received from so many of you. We've enjoyed hearing the anecdotes and the stories that everyone has shared about her and about the type of person that she was. For those of you that don't know me, as Kamal said, I'm Zaynab Rajan, granddaughter of Fatma Jafar Ali Versi, and I'd like to take a few minutes to speak about Mama. There's so much to say about her life, and I thought instead of giving you an immense and albeit outstanding biography, I thought instead I just want to focus on a few points within her life, a few lessons that she taught us. One lesson that I personally have taken from her long life is her resilience. That's something she demonstrated right up until the last moments of her life. Mama lost so many people close to her, and with the loss of her father, after which her mother went back to her parents' house, all while at the tender age of about 4 or 5, and then later on she lost her husband, and then her daughter in quick succession.
So both her siblings were sent to Dar es Salaam to live with their uncle, Chacha Jafar M. Jafar, and Mama stayed in Zanzibar and lived under the care of her grandfather, Muhammad Jafar.
So throughout these instances, she demonstrated such admirable strength. And it always amazed me how strong women of her generation were. They had such a different lifestyle to the one that we have, but they never complained. They just got on with it, and they cared so much for the people around them. As human beings, no one can claim a perfect life, and everyone has their ups and downs. And when I was thinking about what to say about Mama, it made me realize that it wasn't the struggles that she went through, but it was how she dealt with it, her resilience, her tenaciousness, her strength, that made her the role model that she was for her children and her grandchildren. Mama was also staunch in her religion, even from a young age, with the family owning Mahfil Ali, also known as Kiwanjani in Zanzibar. She spent a large amount of her time there going to mosque and wouldn't just perform her wajibats, but would go over and above.
So this is a picture of Kiwanjani. So when she was young, when Mama was young, she was by the window and actually fell. And apparently, this is as the story goes, Mama walked with a bit of a waddle, and she always told us that it was because one leg is shorter than the other because of that fall. She was also known to be a bit mischievous in her early days, and she loved to explore and was daring to a certain extent. So that's the door of Kiwanjani, and then here is the bench where Bapaji, Mama's grandfather, used to sit at the entrance to Kiwanjani.
She got married and in her early 20s. Papa was then offered a job to manage the Sisal estate, which was many acres of plantation. So they moved to Mkoe, which is in South Tanzania, in the outskirts of Lindi. This was in the middle of the jungle, so there were lots and lots of dangerous animals. And on one occasion, she encountered a poisonous snake, which I've been told, as she was pregnant with Amachacha at the time, it left her alone. Living in Mkoe meant that Mama was left very isolated with two small children, having to source her own food and supplies, which obviously in those days wasn't as easy as just popping down to Tesco's. This forced her to learn how to drive, navigate the dirt roads of Tanzania. With no experience of driving even, she would get into a pickup truck and make her way to the doctors or go get supplies wherever she needed to go. Just another example of her strength and her get-up-and-go attitude. After Mkoe, they moved to Shamba, which is a house in the outskirts of Dar es Salaam, which again, so this again was away from town, and I think a lot of you would have visited Shamba as well, but it's very different from what it is today. It had a lot less facilities, no electricity, no running water. Luckily, the sea was just there, and it was also where Mama taught herself to swim. On the one hand, you've got this woman who's dealt with all this hardship, but at the same time, she continued with all her physical responsibilities, taking care of those around her. Mama showed us patience, and she showed that patience beautifully. Just because someone always has a smile on their face, or just because you don't see them crying, it doesn't mean that they're not carrying that pain inside of them. Again, a testament to her strength. Following this hardship came her period of ease. And her and Papa were seen traveling far and wide. Just mention a few places that they visited. They traveled by ship to the UK for the Queen's coronation, which I think is coming up soon. So this is, so they traveled to the Queen's coronation in 1953, and then through Europe and the Middle East. She then went to Japan for the Olympics in 1964, followed by a quick stint around the Far East and the Indian subcontinent, as well as Hajj and Ziyarat. And all of this was without Skyscanner or the internet. Although I understand there were some technical issues at the start for those logging in online, so maybe old is gold sometimes.
In terms of her travels, you saw lots of the pictures around how she went to different places. Papa and Mama, you'll see all these pictures of Mama because Papa was taking all these photos. So Papa and Mama had a really close bond. They cared for each other quite a lot, and quite rarely, she kept on he kept on saying how much he loved her and had a lot of respect for her, and quite rare for many.
Not the boat. The boat. This next slide.
Here is a boat that they owned in Dar es Salaam, and they had their own boat in town, and they used to go out from Dar es Salaam in this boat every now and then. So on the top right, you can see Murtaza uncle, and that's Mama in the boat with Papa taking the photo. Yes, the boat is called the Sabrina. That's right.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Mama also knew how to enjoy her life, and she took pride in her appearance, and she was known as a bit of a trendsetter. She's got her iconic French roll, her nose stud, which I think everyone will remember. There was also the strong family unit, and that was something that Mama and Papa also taught us and always emphasized. I still remember our extended trip, family trip for Umrah, which we all still have fond memories of till today. They would really enjoy entertaining, and Mama enjoyed cooking for all. When they were living in Lindi, she would teach the locals cooking. They would invite people to Shamba and host and entertain every week. She loved to cook and feed people. She would always cook for us, for her grandchildren, and she used to really love it. Family was always very important to them, as was seen by their extended family trips and just being there for everyone. There were those times when her and Papa would make frequent trips to London, and having dinner with them every week was something that I took for granted at the time. This sense of family is evident not just by everyone here today, but by those that called her on Jummah, visited her regularly, and made a point of passing by and coming to see her, even though they lived far away. This sense of family unit has also been seen by the way that all her children took such exemplary care of her. Even Bai Puima, who lived across the pond, would call every day and recite Quran for her. Everybody played their part. They all cared for her throughout her life, especially in her old age, something that wasn't easy to do, but through their determination and resilience and love for their mother, the care that she had given them and everyone else around her came back around. Family-orientated, adventurous, tenacious, a mother, and affectionate. These are just some of the words that describe our gran, Fatma. Death of a mother at any time is always hard. But again, the way that the family unit came together, it really astounded me. It made me really proud to have such amazing brothers, cousins, and sister-in-laws, as well as the wider family, our family here at Mahfil, as well as Stanmore and Harrow Mosque, who all helped to relieve the burden from Mama's children and facilitate the funeral arrangements. And for that, I want to say thank you. Clearly, she is still living within us today. It's all those memories and more that will last forever, even when she is not. If we can recite a Surah Fatiha for her and all her moral means. Surah Fatiha.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. Brothers will now have a short talk by Professor Iqbal Asaria. Please welcome him with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I'm greatly honored by being asked by the family of Fatma by Jafar Ali Versi and all other parts of the family to say a few words on this occasion of her 40th. I think we saw during the time when she passed away, this extended family, not only their blood relatives, but others come together and show their respect and sympathy. And many of us had not seen the late Fatma Bai for a few years because she had been homebound and we were not really visiting her regularly or whatever. We knew from what was happening around that there was a lot of sacrifice involved. We knew that one of the children, whatever is the case, would not be there because he would be looking after his mom. So when we said, Riaz, can you attend this meeting? He said, I can't. So, but why not? I said, well, I can't. He wouldn't say that I'm looking after my mom or Ahmad or Murtaza or whatever. So it was really a very nice sense of family which we developed. And obviously, as we saw, people from East Africa, they started from very small beginnings in India, very modest backgrounds, and then developed into globetrotters, and obviously also inspired their whole families. And we can see from the progeny of late Fatma Bai that what one woman can do. There is a lesson in it for all of us. It doesn't matter who we are or where we come from. There's a lot of potential in mankind. But I were to take up a small other aspect of our life here, which was illustrated during her funeral. See, my own mom passed away suddenly in 1979 here. Now, at that time, we didn't have a place for ghusl. We didn't have a dedicated qabristan for burial. We didn't have funeral directors. We didn't have anything. So what we needed to do was we had to take her to Haji Taslim Ali in East London for ghusl. And then from there to Hammersmith for the namaz of Janaza. And then from there to Brookwood, which was another 30 miles away. And those days, not many people had cars, and not many people knew how to drive. So you could imagine how tortuous the process has become. So one of the things which I always say to people, that is really a credit to people like Haji Taslim Ali, who offered these services without any divisions, sectarian considerations, anything at all. And it was just famous. He said, you don't have anybody? Tell Haji Taslim Ali, he will sort out the burial. And even to this day, his children are running that service and also offering it to people who cannot afford the burial costs and all kinds of other things. Okay? So there we were, and then we went through a process where we started to have dedicated facilities, dedicated plots for our families, and dear and near, and all kinds of things. But again, at the burial or the time of the ceremonies for late Fatma Bai, we came up against the problem that the facilities we had were full. So where are we going to give her ghusl and kafan? And fortunately, the Harrow Mosque came to our rescue. This was also a result of 15 years of cooperation between the Mahfil Ali and the Harrow Mosque. That we could be offered that facility without any let or hindrance. And I think all of us will testify to the warmth of the welcome we received there. So there's nothing to do with them. They could have said, sorry, you can wash and take your body away. We don't have anything else to do with that. It was I think it was 2 days, 2 or 3 days, which we needed to keep the body there. So a lot of progress has been made in the last 40 years. We have now a handle on what to do. We are now worried about these facilities which are getting full very quickly as to what to do about them. But alhamdulillah, and through that time, we had people like the late Fatma Bai who were supporting the community in all aspects. Some of them joining the ghusl teams, some of them becoming undertakers, and so on and so forth. And I hope that we can develop from here on and reciprocate to other communities, that whenever they need our services, we are available. We are not asking, are you members, are you this, are you that? No, we are available and we offer our services to you. I think that is a lesson we have to learn from this funeral. The other lesson which we learned very much indirectly, I think immediately after the funeral, Riaz, I think it was Riaz, who said that the planned ghusl place in the new center is just not enough. We need something more. And since then, he has been engaged in trying to plan a slightly bigger place near the Baitul Salat, where we can accommodate these requirements of ours. So I think if it happens, that one, that will be dedicated to Marhum Fatma Bai Jafar. I don't think it would have been done if we didn't have that crunch at that time. So alhamdulillah, we have people who are blessed with showing the way even in their passing away, rather than in their life. In their life, obviously, they contributed a lot until they couldn't anymore. And I think, finally, I just want to say that I am full of admiration for the family who dedicated themselves to their mother or mother-in-law or grandmother or whatever you call them, and did not allow people to feel that she was not cared for. Everybody was comfortable that she was being cared for. I know how difficult it is, year after year after year, but that is what life is about. Perhaps we can take one other lesson, that fortunately we are living longer than we used to in Africa. I think in Africa, probably somebody crosses 50, that was a blessing, and by 60, most of us were gone. Now we are looking at 80, and probably projections are that people born today may live to 100. But I don't know how many years of active life they would have. So what are we going to do about people who do not have an active life or who are dependent in either mental dependency, physical dependency, and so on? So perhaps the Versi family can sit down and teach us how to plan for these events in a way which makes it possible. Obviously, things fall on you. You will do whatever you can. But if you plan, you can do better. And this is not only a problem for our community. When we look at the census results overall, we see that this problem is beginning to grow in the Muslim community. We have customary attitudes, and we have resistance to using care homes, nursing homes, assisted living homes. We want to live with our near and dear at home. We have other conflicts there, and so on. So I think there are lots of things to think about and make sure that we do things with dignity and with planning and with forbearance and help from each other. So lastly, I would just like everybody to pray for the late Fatma Bai and appreciate that this small tree has given so many flowers which we are proud of. Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
صلوات على محمد. زيارة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا نبي الله. السلام عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا محمد بن عبد الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك وعلى زوجتك الوفية الغراء خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين. السلام عليك وعلى بدرتك الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيد النساء العالمين. السلام عليك وعلى ابن أمك أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب وسي رسول رب العالمين. السلام عليك وعلى ولديك الإمامين الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. السلام عليك وعلى أئمة المسلمين من ذرية ولدك الحسين علي السجاد ومحمد الباقر وجعفر الصادق وموسى الكاظم وعلي الرضا ومحمد الجواد وعلي الهادي والحسن العسكري والحجة ابن الحسن المهدي. السلام عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك والمستشهدين بين يديك. السلام عليكم جميعا أهل البيت ورحمة الله وبركاته. Brothers and sisters, we will now be serving food. The gents will be having food in 39 Gloucester Road, so just across. If you just come towards this side, across to the other side of the kitchen, and the ladies will be served in here. We'll also have the opportunity for those of you who'd like to see the Salam Centre site. We will be having the opportunity to go and have a look. If you'd like to, just let us know. Thank you.